Please sit down.
And be humble.
Welcome to Humble Podcast. My name is Brittany.
And this is Manny. Today I'm excited to say that we have Ezana Asefa, my good friend and my cousin Zanzan, aka Zanzan, here today. He's a musician, he's a jack of all trades, and he's my really good friend. And I'm just really excited to have him here.
I'm in the building, jack of all trades, master of none, which is the rest of that phrase.
Your personality is as lively as ever, I see. I'm really excited to have you here. One of the first things I want to talk to you about, especially since you're a musician, is kind of what is your process? Because as everyone should already know, Azana is actually the person who made our intro song. So I really want to know what's the process you go through to create music.
Oh, well, it starts. I would say listening to music. I think I just have tastes, and I try to live up to them. And whether I do or I don't, that's the product. Is my me trying to do something that sounds like something I like.
Yeah. So
And you know that aligns with my abilities. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, I get that. No, but I want to know what when you find something that clicks with you, what is the next step? How do you decide how to refine it, or how do you decide that thing is what you're going to be working with? That
Well, when I'm making something, I'm um I'm just constantly listening to it. So, and then, well, first, if I don't, it's repeating over and over. So if I don't hate it, like if I don't get, I don't finish most of the stuff I start because I just end up don't I disliking it. It doesn't it starts to sound bad to me. So if I don't stop, it eventually finishes, and that's the product. Like, but as far as what to do to it, what to refine, I just it just stop until it sounds up to par. Like if I don't, I just have to like it.
hmm. So are you jamming out and then something catches you, or is it something as though you're listening to TV and then you hear something that catches your ear, or is it just as though this divine beam kind of hits you and
Right.
you know for today this is what I'm about to make, you know?
Well, I'm usually jamming out. Like these days, I used to sample
Hmm.
to make beats, um, and with that, that's just if I hear a sample that I like. Uh, but with the guitar, I'm I'm jamming out. I'm playing chords that I used to play, like that I always play, um, which usually come from just songs I learned, and I just have those chords in my repertoire now. Uh, and then, but the best stuff comes from where I don't do that, or the best stuff to me, because like that's where something special happens. Because like if you saw me, like if you like if a person were to watch me like through days, it would be a bunch of the same sounds going on until something different happened, and then I either follow that. Well, I do follow that until it either ends up at a stop or not.
That is actually really cool. And I ask this because for me, and I talk to Brittany very regularly, and I say that all the time. So she knows my creative process is quite literally madness. It
Mm.
is madness, and she could attest to that. We'll be having a conversation. I'll stop mid conversation and say, "That's it. I got it." Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
like Dan Harmon.
Hmm.
I'm a fan of his.
Yeah. Yeah.
Creator of Rick and Morty and Community. Uh, his whole thing with the creative process and writer's block, as it were. He always says, try to be a bad writer because the thing stopping you is you're trying to be a good writer. So whatever you write, you don't like, so you stop. But then he's like, what if you just tried to be a bad writer?
Mhm.
Then at least you have written something, and you know go from there. Like it, because you're not going to get nowhere with an empty page and a head full of trepidations.
And I get that, but I think it's hard because a lot of the time when you're trying to create something, you already have this perfect idea of what it should look like in your head.
Mm,
And throughout your process, you start to realize what you thought it was going to be completely changes as it goes on. I've been working for since we were in college on a novel,
good.
and if I told you what the novel had been in college and what it is now, you wouldn't believe I was still writing the same thing, but it's still the same story. It's just that so much has changed because even from a day-to-day perspective, your perspective
Yeah,
changes,
yeah.
right? Which changes how you view the thing that you're creating,
Hmm.
right? And so it's so interesting to me because when I had asked you to make the intro for us, I just gave you a vibe. I didn't say an instrument. I didn't say a
Yeah,
chord. I just gave you a vibe.
yeah.
And you somehow came out with music from that.
Well, yeah. I mean, luckily you liked the second one, but the thing I just would have kept. I mean, I don't know how long it would have took, but I just would have kept making different stuff. Like, but and the thing is that's interesting about your novel because that's something that can not be finished. You can be working on for a long enough time that, like you said, like your perspective actually changes. Like I can track that through old beats, but a beat makes like at most like 20, 30 minutes to make.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be done before I have like a
The chance
real
to change
like
that
yeah.
perspective, which is
Mhm.
crazy because the more I talk to different people who do different creative things, the process, as different as it is and technically, it's really starts to sound more of the same, that something just happens. And I've heard someone say before, it's almost as though you're not the creative one, but you're letting ideas flow through you.
Hmm.
And you're just become a medium in which that channels. And those ideas come to fruition. Brittany,
Fru-
help your boy.
fruition.
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 Fruition. Someone gonna be like, this man is messy, but it's okay.
Yeah, that's why.
I
Yeah,
mean,
go ahead.
I have a quick question. As a person who's not creative, like I don't create anything like music or I don't write anything like that. Like when you say, oh, creativity just flows through you, obviously it has to come from somewhere, right? It just doesn't magically come to you. Or does it? I don't know. Can you tell me?
Yeah, like well, that's what I was saying earlier about taste. Like I really think, well, there's what you just come up with in your head, and then from that, like I feel like your own taste, which is informed by whatever, is what takes the lead. Like do you hum to yourself?
Yeah, I find myself humming.
Yeah. So like, if you were to want to write a song, you would start with,
Hmm.
and then you would either be like, "That's good," or "That's bad," and
But
and
what if you're humming something that you're not realizing is something you've listened to before?
hmm,
But I
You
think that's
know?
interesting that you say that, Brittany, because to me, that's the really interesting thing about creativity and why I say it kind of flows through you. Because none of your ideas, at least to me, are truly original. They're
no,
they're spin-offs, they're remixes. So you kind of almost take something that you like and you turn and you put what makes you into it, right? Because
Hmm.
you can think about it like you can think about almost take your favorite show. There's something you didn't like about that show and something you would have done different. But if you were to do that thing different, it would no longer be that show, it would be your show, you know? And that's kind of what creativity is to me. You catch somehow this thing comes to you and you catch it and then you imprint yourself on it. And
Hmm.
then you want to spread that thing out to other people and then they take the chance to make it their own too. But it becomes really interesting because when you think about the fact that Ezana made that beat for me, right? You start to
Hmm.
wonder stuff like, is that Azana's beat or is that me and Azana's beat?
Right.
Because would Azana have made that sound if I had not given him that creativity, that flash of inspiration? Because that's really all creativity is to me, is just moments like that.
That mentality is the exact same reason why we have so many doctor shows.
It is.
Oh wait, explain that. Explain that.
No, Brittany,
Break,
elaborate, please.
break that down.
Okay, I mean, there's so many hospital shows, like so many. There's The Good Doctor, there's Grey's
Mhm.
Anatomy, there's The Apprentice, and you know what? There's so many I can't even name any more than that because that's all that I know of. But there's so many hospital shows, but they all have the same concept. Oh, I'm here to be a doctor and I work in a hospital. But because they changed little aspects of it, like the small minuscule thing, it is now their creative thing.
Mhm.
Well,
Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you
we're
mean.
opening
Yeah.
a big door.
But see, I was just trying to make a joke, and then you made me explain the joke, which is why it's no longer funny. So
I
thank you for that.
I think it was worth explaining because what's attractive, right? What's attractive about a hospital show, right? There are stakes, you know, but there's room for personalities to show. Like there are these constants that are always popping up, like that are like always attractive to an audience. Um,
Yes, which is why they're always so popular, and why Grey's Anatomy has like 17 seasons. So
and why, but Joseph Campbell, I gave you that book.
Oh, oh, you're talking about Joseph Campbell. You're talking about, um, I'm actually working on the second book of his, The Hero with a Thousand Faces.
Uh huh.
Yeah, and it's,
That's a dense book.
whew, you're telling me I've not been,
I
I've
mean,
been reading for 2 months.
that's
It's
a
not
dense
going
book.
well. But the idea is that really we're building these stories to kind of guide ourselves, giving ourselves a way to move morally throughout every day. Before it was done in myths, like back in the day, Greek mythology, that wasn't mythology, that was someone's beliefs, someone's stories of their culture. And now the story of our culture comes through these doctor shows and so on and so forth, is what I think Asana was trying to get at.
Like a doctor themed show, I think would be an example of a more micro, what I don't know, archetype, I guess. With like, and then if you zoom out a little more, it would be like, uh, I don't know, like a good versus evil,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and then if you zoom out a little more, it's like creation versus oblivion, or entropy or something. It's like fractals.
Yeah. And so Joseph Campbell is, would you call him a philosopher? I would call him a culture
He's
researcher.
he's a, I think,
is
anthropologist and
Hmm.
like
is that
mythologist.
yeah?
Hmm. And
But if you're
so
studying culture, doesn't that make you also sort of like a sociologist? Isn't that what sociologists do? They study culture,
I think they study like the inner workings
society.
of society. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I think
Mhm.
anthropology is more specifically different
I think anthropology is more,
like man cultures.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Any sociologists out there, please explain the difference
Call
to us.
in 225-398.
That's not our name, but that's not our number, but we do have a Twitter and Instagram plug.
Like that.
Plug at Podcast Humble. Yeah, the idea that these things we have, our stories, our modern day myths, are in these TV shows and everything, which is just another vat of creativity. and it's interesting to see that. I think it's funny that you bring up Joseph Campbell. Do you ever think about kind of his work? Does that influence how you make beats, the vibe that you're putting out? Does that
Um,
how do experiences or thoughts like that play out?
it not directly, no. I think it just has kind of given language to my own process. Like, and I guess in that way it kind of allows me to hone that process a little more. Um, but I definitely just relate to the idea of just sitting still and being as open as possible and letting, like, your mind run
Yeah.
uh, different ideas like by your conscious brain. Um, for you to grab like a fish out of a spoon.
Hmm. I really like that idea. Language is something that I can say I'm constantly seeking. Because back in college, one of my famous lines was, I can't explain to you what's happening, but
Something.
something's happening. You can sit here and enjoy the ride, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
I'm constantly seeking language to explain my process and myself. And it's so funny that through that, you find a means to give yourself that language and be able to kind of pinch those ideas out.
Hmm.
Because that's one of my biggest problems. I have a hard time finding that language and pinching ideas out. Recently, I've been trying to decipher my dreams
Hmm.
in order to give myself a language that I feel like I'm lacking.
I have a,
Go
I have
ahead.
a question. How do you approach the relationship between, like, you know just like trying to, like, creativity and discipline, because they seem kind of opposing,
Hmm.
but they seem also mutually necessary.
Yeah, kind of like being yin yang. So creativity, is what gives you the idea, and keeps the idea, gives you new ideas to add to idea. Discipline is what helps you finish the idea.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you need to know when to use discipline because there'd be an idea that you like, but you just are having a hard time finishing it.
Hmm.
And it's not that you dislike it, you just can't get it done. And so that's when you need discipline. But creativity allows you to know when it's time to put discipline away and step away from the project
Right.
and give yourself that space that you need to generate new ideas, right? At least in my opinion.
There's a guy named Chuck Close, I think
Hmm.
was his name.
Hmm.
Um, about artists and inspiration. He says, "Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us, we just go to work."
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot. How did you interpret that?
I think it's kind of similar with, like, how writers say, sit down like once a day.
Hmm.
Like, you- I guess it's just basically because you're basically setting aside time
Hmm.
for whatever to strike.
Hmm.
Because if you were just flying by the seat of your pants all the time, it would it may strike in other ways.
Hmm.
You may be like, oh, I can make this sink
Yeah.
go faster.
Which is really interesting to me because when you talk about ideas, I need to know where did the idea for your logo come from? The man with the
Oh
head,
yeah.
the fist raised up, and he has no torso and just legs.
It
It was the
it
first time I saw it today.
yeah, I mean, it didn't. I drew it one day and I was like, I really liked it. Like, I was like, this guy is cool. This guy's like, uh, can I see it real quick?
You forgot your.
I'm wondering. It's like the fact that there's no pupils.
And then there's no torso at all.
It makes him seem so sure. Like, there's nothing going on in the eyes. It makes it seem so intent.
Hmm.
There's confidence.
There's it's just like a real round face, and then just hairy legs and
One arm.
and one arm.
It
Like,
says
I actually have like I was writing like a comic about this. Um,
Does he have a name?
no, I didn't settle on a name, but this
Okay.
act. I mean the drawing came first, but the idea was that this would be a botched a bio 3D printed clone of a normally proportioned human, um, who who underwent those trials for some money, and they were gonna destroy him, and then he went to save him, and they go on adventures.
I want to be tapped in
That
to
sounds
whatever
awesome,
you are tapped
actually.
into. No, but Brittany, like, do you like hear what he's saying? Like, I'm not my creative process when I'm able to do a poll. I need to be tapped in to whatever beam is coming to Azana, because that is the most batshit crazy, coolest thing I've ever heard. No, seriously.
Thank you.
Like, whoa, man.
Yeah, maybe
You should write the comic.
The man of many trades.
In
Aren't you?
your
You're in school
free
right now,
time,
right?
write it.
I
I
have
even like
one
the
more
added
semester.
the added detail of the pick in the hair, you know?
Oh, we forgot about the pick in
That's
the
Yeah,
hair.
nice.
yeah.
That's a nice little
It's an
added
old draw.
touch.
I mean, I drew that and then took that picture. That would have been 2014.
Oh wow.
Um, and it's just been my hobby ever since. And I also have a I draw it a bunch. I and I don't usually draw the mustache anymore or the facial hair.
Oh why? What's changed?
It's more sloppy at this point. It's like I just go like I just do that and then do the face and then I
Oh
guess I'm doing straight
yeah.
fingers sometimes.
It's become more crude.
Yeah,
Isn't that funny how as you get older you start to revert back to simplicity?
I yeah, maybe that's a nice way to say it. You can call it laziness. You can call it. Right.
Oh yeah. So you're back in school. You're still in school right now, right?
I have one more semester at UMBC, and then
Congratulations.
thank you, and then law school is the plan.
Law school.
Environment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How?
Essay tells me that your major is global studies. Is
Mm-hmm.
that so? As a global studies major and as a person who's about to go into law school, what would be your area of focus? I'm just curious how those two intertwine.
Well, global studies has three focus tracks, I guess, and the one I'm in is uh, health, health development, and the environment.
Okay.
Excuse me, and uh, and I'm doing environmental. I'd like to sort of because all the environmental troubles are like gonna we're not gonna feel it first. It's gonna be mostly in the global south or third world, I guess is the other way to say it. Um, and I think it's a real worthwhile field to sort of, I feel like law is basically has the potential to be my tool to help out,
Yeah.
Oh,
words,
okay. That sounds awesome.
words and semantics.
Yeah. I understand
Hmm.
that. So how are you gonna balance that and your creative passions, especially your music? Because I know how important your music is to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the same way I've been doing it. It just tends to fill the spaces.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. I mean, I've never really I've never really went out of my way. You know,
Hmm.
I played instruments since I was able to, like in fifth grade.
Hmm.
Um, that was just a bunch of pressure. There were people telling me to practice, and and like after eighth grade, I stopped with the music in the school, and then tenth
Hmm.
grade I picked up guitar, and then I may have like taken breaks, but I never stopped. Like I'll probably never stop. doing that.
Is guitar the main instrument you play?
Yeah, I've actually gotten into drums because I bought this like $200 kit
Oh,
that I
nice.
play sometimes, and bass. Bass is new, but guitar
Hmm.
is the stronghold
of the fortress.
for
Definitely.
sure.
Um, it's so it's so interesting because for me, being able to do the things that I like to do as far as creative works go, novel, podcast, whatever, it's always been a thing where I have to use my discipline to get it done.
Hmm.
So to hear that you can just naturally fall back and use it as a means to relax is kind of
Yeah,
crazy to me.
it's definitely a form of leisure. Like I do, I have a bunch of things. I like Minesweeper, fucking Call of Duty, and then I
Hmm.
just like just having, because I have my guitars on my wall,
Hmm.
one guitar, one
Hmm.
bass,
Hmm.
and then I have my computer right here. I just usually just fucking
Grab it and go.
just.
Start
I mean,
strumming.
I don't most of the time I'm not recording anything. I'm just kind of a nervous tick,
Hmm.
which kind of worries
Hmm.
me because I mean, it would worry me if it was like, I don't know what I was making my living doing. I fear that I sort of have foregone technical progression
Hmm.
to just have it as like a little stress ball.
Hmm.
But I do what I do.
So, what is your goal for your music path then? Is it just like always going to be a side hustle for you, you think?
Um, I mean, that's the way it seems to be going. I
Hmm.
can't imagine, like, it would be a pretty big shift to also, it seems like a recipe for disaster to kind of to mix to have like what
You're passionate about be the thing that you make your money from.
yeah, like it seems like a recipe for a bunch of heartbreak.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do that, and it doesn't
Uh,
have to be something creative that you're passionate about. Some people are passionate about, the environment or people in general.
right.
And so they create careers out of that. I feel like if you create a career that you're not passionate about, you're going to end up being a little, I don't want to say the word depressed, but in some type of funk. Like the career that I'm currently in is not what I plan to be in the next 5 years. Like I plan on going back to school and doing something completely different
Mm,
than what I'm doing right now. Because I know that if I were to continue this for the rest of my life, I would not be happy
right.
because it's not something that I'm passionate about. It's just, a job. I don't want to say that, but
Yeah.
you know, that's how unfortunately a lot of people do feel about their jobs, is that it's a job and it's the means to pay their bills and it's a means to live. But a lot of people wish that they didn't have a job like that.
Yeah. I mean, I can honestly say that the professional route that I'm pursuing is
Hmm.
like it's one of many passions. It's definitely one
Hmm.
that doesn't manifest as me like doing it every day, like
Hmm.
practicing it every day. Um, I don't know. I haven't. I'm kind of just taking it as it comes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's just so interesting to me because you're so talented. You're just so talented.
Thank you.
Um, but I
I
have
liked what
heard,
you did for
the thing
us.
you
It
love,
was really nice.
don't do that as a job. Do the thing that you like. So,
Right.
yeah, I also get that. It's just interesting to talk to you and have that kind of conversation. Um,
Mhm.
for that reason, I just think you're so immensely talented that I would cannot ever stop raving about you when people ask me if I know if I know someone who's a musician. I'm you're that one friend who act like I'm cool because I'm like, yeah, he's a musician. It's no big deal. I can play one of his things.
That's That's very funny. That it doesn't match my
Personality.
selfish.
But very proud. I mean, would like to think I'm very proud of all my friends. I brag about my friends all the time. My friends are like my kids.
Yeah,
Like what parents do with their kids, I do with my friends. I'm like, yeah, no big deal.
that's lit, man. That's great. You got a big heart.
Yeah, it is.
For the people that are oh,
Do you have any advice? Go ahead, Britt.
for the people that are listening and would maybe like to listen to some of your music, is there a way that you could describe your sound and then tell people where they can listen to you?
My sound, um, well, I like it was. I guess it's like you could call it like lo-fi, hip hop, R&B. These days, I'll just make a beat and put a verse on it.
Mm-hmm.
So rap too. Yeah, that's where I've been these days. Um, but as far as where to go,
Yeah, where can people find your music?
my SoundCloud, which is Ezana underscore Asefa. If I like something enough, I'll put something up there.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
and
show
check.
notes below. The link to his SoundCloud should be there too. And Azana, thank you again so much for being here, man.
No
It's such a
problem, man.
pleasure to
Thanks, man.
have
This was
you.
fun.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you guys want to ask any questions, if you like Azana being here, tweet us, message us, comment at Podcast Humble on Twitter and Instagram. We also have an email, which is humblepodcast@protonmail.com. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you guys, and bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.